That looks good. All right. We're here. See if I'm live on Twitch. I am live. Okay, good. All right, we'll fix that up in a second. Yeah, we got 12 minutes. Okay, it's going good. What else? So that's good. We're here. Good. All right, play some music. What one do I want to keep? Not that one. Weird. Huh. The test eventually did come through. Bizarre. Like that. Bow.
Bravo Juju.
Bintal Shalabia, Unalosia, Epic Minabia, Inti Aina, Epic Minabia, Inti Aina.
Yo, Birdie. I'm just getting the other channels online here. So far, Twitch is the only one I'm live at. Something is eating so much RAM. It's crazy. I don't even know what. It's eating all this RAM. Sorry.
خلينا كنت استسموها بنا هنا هيك يالهريش أستار ماري بنا هنا هيك يالهريش زفالشين
Sounds like an oud. Alright, it should be live on all three now. Should be live, yeah. Karase Cheol. This is traditional music from where in the world? An Arabic speaking place, I guess. Let's translate this and see what happens. This is this channel is for traditional Irish music here. Could that have been? Is this traditional Irish music? Is this Gaelic? Let's see. Maybe it's Gaelic and not detect language. Irish. It's traditional Irish music. That was not Arabic music at all. But what does it say? No, has to be. Bint el. That's not an Irish tune. This must be Arabic music. Yeah. Okay. Cool. By Fairuz. All right. Very cool. Very, very cool. Welcome to the live stream, everybody. My name is Dallas. This is the accordion live stream. We have if you're watching now on one of these channels, Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, you can pop a comment. What's up, Heather? Great to see you. Welcome. This is my live stream that I try to hop on every Tuesday or every week or as close to that as I can. My name is Dallas. I'm an accordion player, an accordion teacher, an accordion lover, music lover in general, based out of southeastern Pennsylvania. I was just out had a wonderful day outside so far. I woke up and went for a run kind of early, and then did a bunch of work, got a little practicing in, taught a lesson, and then I rode my bike across the river and just picked up our first small share from the what do you call it? The CSA. So our first CSA is today. So that was really nice, really beautiful lettuce and 2 baskets of strawberries, kale, and spinach. And the farm owner told me on the phone a couple weeks ago when we signed up, about a month ago, she said, the early shares are going to be it's going to be mostly greens, but as we go on into the summer, you're going to get a lot more substantial stuff. So that's cool. Everything looks great. Very exciting. The window is open here. I think it's 70 degrees. No, it's 80 degrees. Wow. 80 degrees here. Things are feeling pretty good. What else is going on? Sonny Rollins passed away in music news. We will watch a accordion version of one of his tunes, and we'll watch a little news piece from French television in English about that. I have a little news segment to cover with you guys, and then the main segments for today are going to be 2 segments on the music of Django Reinhardt that we call gypsy jazz, and how to play it on the accordion. And that's one of my specialty genres. I'm into swing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to talk about 2 beautiful tunes by Mir Var. Oh, I got to read it. Immer so schön is one of the tunes, beautiful ballad. And then the other one is called Djangoology. Djangoology. All right. Great to see you, Mark, as well. I'm now thoroughly one week back from the amazing trip to New Orleans to study with Jacques and Natalie for my 7th week, you would call it. And that was just super, super fun. And I've been practicing as much as I can. I had a really interesting gig on Sunday. Super happy to play in duo with a guitarist that I love playing with, guitarist named Michael Nikolodakis, who's multi-instrumentalist. And he had this like little kind of brunch gig at a winery, but it was a 6-hour gig, which is a very, very long gig. So we really had to pace ourselves and, just try to go gentle, be very musical, and not fatigue ourselves and our bodies and all that sort of thing. I have not done a 6-hour gig in quite a while. And it's pretty Herculean to do a 6-hour gig. I can say... Otherwise, the conditions were perfect for it. Oh, I got to adjust the camera. Sorry, guys. I'll just rest it here. 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off. That's ideal. So, taking 15 minutes. We got fed a little bit in there. And then a little bit of wine because it's a winery, of course. But that went well. I don't feel too sore. I have some residual like neck soreness from all the travel and a couple weeks of playing accordion, but in general, everything's pretty good in the body. Before we go on, I'm going to read my little thing on the iPad that I read. I think I forgot it last live stream, but these are the values that I have as a human being on Earth, and as such, as a one-man operation here, they're the values of this stream, and I say these out loud so that if these are your values too, if these things are important to you, you know that in these not easy times that we're going through right now, that there's another person out there that maybe in addition to accordion, you have in common these values as well. This live stream is obviously pro-accordion. We're pro-musicians' rights and representation, obviously. Pro-educators' rights and representation. We are very pro-LGBTQIA+. I'm wearing my trans rights are human rights t-shirt that I have on today. And actually, when I picked up the box of the CSA share, somebody shouted at me, "I like your shirt." That was cool. We're pro-gender equality, we're pro-feminist, pro-democracy, pro-political plurality, pro-immigrant and pro-immigration. We are anti-fascist, we're anti-white supremacist, anti-war in general, we're anti-genocide of the Palestinian people, and we are anti-Semitic, that is hatred of the Jewish people. We are pro-public funding for the arts, pro-public education, and pro-educators, and pro-academia in general, and those are some of the very important values in these really troubled times. Music is an incredible force for most human beings, I think. A song can really do a thing, and I don't know. Thank gosh that we have music. That's great. Hey Sarah, wonderful to see you. Okie doke. So, moving right along. What? Let's see. Let's get to a little bit of news. So Sonny Rollins passed away. Sonny Rollins was absolutely probably the last living legend who concertized well into his last years. He's a great amongst all the other greats. I gotta go to not that one, this one. Here we go. So here's a little news story from France 24, and then we'll check out something after this.
Now, the so-called saxophone colossus, Sonny Rollins, whose smooth sounds have graced the planet for decades, has died at the age of 95, making him really the last in a golden era of jazz greats. The Harlem-born Rollins, recognisable in his later years for his shock of white hair there, was one of a handful of saxophone players who really defined the instrument, a pantheon that includes Charlie Parker and Coleman Hawkins. And like so many artists from jazz's defining period, Rollins lived a long life remastering his work well into the 80s. Rollins putting all that down, apparently, to yoga. We're going to play you a few clips and talk about him as well in just a moment. But first of all, let's hear the first one of them. This is from right back in 1960. France 24's Sammy Vicente Lacerda is with me here on set. Such a great sound, isn't it? And such a wonderful man as well.
Wonderful giant of the jazz, as you introduced him. And I want to say that life works in mysterious ways sometimes, but
hey, Phil.
Let me just say that death perhaps works a little harder, as not only we are mourning today the death of the jazz legends, but we are also celebrating what would have been the 100th anniversary birthday, of another jazz legend, Miles Davis, and they actually played together. And they will be, I'm sure, leading the afterlife's pantheon of jazz musicians, I guess.
What is it about Sonny Rollins, then, do you think?
I mean, Sonny Rollins was really a visionary. He was widely praised for his for the beauty and the depth of his solos, which could last 7, 10, maybe sometimes 20 minutes, but also for the risks he was actually willing to take when it came to creating music. And when he was awarded the National Medal of the Arts by former U.S. President Barack Obama back in 2011, Obama himself claimed that Rollins, and I will quote him, inspired him to take risks that he might not otherwise have taken. So from his own words, Sonny Rollins would go more with feelings than with his brains. And this is precisely this state of mind which led him to release more than 60 albums, including the masterpiece back in 1956, the Saxophone Colossus, which he was, as you introduced him earlier, an album highly inspired by the spirit of the Virgin Islands, where both of his parents came from, before moving to Harlem in New York, where actually Rollins grew up and learned how to play the sax.
Wow, amazing to hear about him. And he was also really inspired, wasn't he, by the world in which he lived in.
He was actually really aware and concerned about the society where he was living in. Indeed, in 1958, for instance, Sonny Rollins released an album called Freedom Suite, an album that echoed the fight for justice and equality of African Americans at a time where the civil rights movement was really growing. And decades later, his concern over the global warming would actually led him to release an album of the same name. And even decades later, the trauma of 9/11, which forced Sonny Rollins and his family at the time to evacuate, like millions of others, the island of Manhattan, led him to release a live album.
Okay, so that's a little bit of the obituary from this France 24 English. I'm not sure it's the best site for it, but it's certainly something. Thank you guys. And here we go. Pent Up House. I know the wonderful, great Roberto Gervasi and Adrian Chevalier, wonderful violinist in New York City, have a version with Adrian's band. So we will watch that one today. Yeah, here we go. They're down in Philadelphia at Chris's Jazz Cafe, which is kind of the main jazz listening room in Philadelphia, and is the longest running one there, I think. Here we go. Everybody complains about it, but it's the one. Why is it not loading? It's being weird. Hang on a second, folks. Oh, I see. Something's going on with the Wi-Fi. We'll just turn that off. I wonder if we're gonna get a Brad Bros solo. That's Julian on bass. Julian Smith. Hey. Okay. Nice. I know. Ooh. Yeah, there you go. Another one. Yeah. That's a good band. This is a good band. Brad on the right, he's really incredible. And that's Dio in the middle on the guitar, and Adrian, and of course Roberto Gervasi. Very cool. All right. Well, that concludes our little segment tribute to the great Sonny Rollins. Thank you, Sonny. What an amazing musician whose tunes definitely continue to get played today. Especially the ones that do get played have a sort of a pop sensibility, which is kind of similar to Django's tunes that still get played today. They have this sort of just kind of catchiness to them, like St. Thomas and this one, Pentap House. Very, very, very lyrical. I thought I'd publish this. The next thing I want to do is continue into news. I really have this idea that I want to have like a news segment. I keep trying to get it going. Let's see. Let me adjust this a little bit. I thought that I posted this as a blog post on my site, but anyways, this is from the email that I sent out. So the week that happened, what happened between today and last week in the world of accordion? Well, let me hit up the top things. Let's see. Fred Deschamps led a masterclass at the Hohner Conservatory. Here's a little visual for that. You could have paid and studied there at the Hohner Conservatory. Now, did we even know that the Hohner Conservatory was a thing? I didn't know it was a thing. My first accordion teacher, Joanna Darrow, over at the Acme Accordion School, she and her husband Stan, who has passed on, who started the school, they knew Old Man Hohner. I don't know what his first name was, but they had met him, and they're from that era, and they would just share a few stories with me about, how I once asked them who had the best accordion orchestra, and they said Hohner did because of a number of reasons, but just all the instruments were perfectly in tune. Anyway, I didn't know you could do stuff and study at I didn't even know there was a Hohner Conservatory, so that's pretty cool. This is the only thing listed here that I see. So anyways, I guess you could also have some service done, some other things. Pretty cool. All right, moving on. This is very fun. The 20th Annual National Button Accordion Festival. This is in a place called Sharon, Pennsylvania. I live in Pennsylvania. So when I saw this morning when I was preparing, I was like, well, it happened over the weekend. I felt like a dummy. I was like, well, I didn't even know about that. That would be, I hope that I haven't been missing out on this all the many years, all 20 years that this has been going on. But Sharon, Pennsylvania is as far, I looked it up on the map. It's literally as far west in Pennsylvania as you can go. It's like on the Ohio border. So I don't see myself attending this festival. However, I thought it was very cool. Let's see, National Button Accordion Festival. I looked for a video from this year's and I couldn't find it, but I did find this. Here's a jam session of all button accordion, the kind of, I don't know if you call it Tyrolean or Alpine with the heliconical reeds. So that was going on. that was going on. Pretty cool. All right, what else? The Cancton Accordion Festival, which is Cajun music. So this is out in Louisiana, I think. Yeah, in Cancton, Louisiana. Here, like, folks, aren't you guys chat folks, people out there? Isn't this great? You get accordion news. All right.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today, our message is get ready for a full day of authentic Cajun music, dancing,
This was over the weekend.
food, and family fun. It's happening at the Cancton Accordion Festival. We have with us Danny Miller. He is chairman of the board, and Caleb Seymour, board member. Welcome, and why the...
Through. So late last summer, we obtained the proclamation as the accordion capital of the state of
Really?
Louisiana.
Just as late as
Wow.
last summer.
Last summer,
this
correct.
happened. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you. We're very proud of it.
What is
That's
it
saying
about
a
the
lot, but
accordion?
hey,
Well,
That you love?
the village has a rich history of accordion players like Michelle Cormier, Belton Reshord, Felix
Know them
Reshord, all of these guys, as well as the mayor's father, Mr. Leland Colligan, who not only played, but made
wow, the
accordions
mayor's
and shipped them all
father
over the
made
world.
accordions.
So
Hell yeah.
it's pretty dear to our heart, and
Oh, okay. All right. This
there's
makes
nothing
sense.
that gets me going like this.
All right. So it's just right outside of Lafayette. So Lafayette is the center. Yeah. There's Baton Rouge. Okay. And this is, if you want to do Zydeco music, Lafayette is the epicenter of that, not New Orleans. New Orleans has a little bit of Zydeco, but it's really more in Lafayette.
Sound of an accordion. I really.
Our young
All right.
students are
So
beautiful.
these gentlemen are cool. And let's just see if we can find a little bit of video of the Cancton Accordion Festival. Now I'm working on some AI assisted help here to pardon me, to get all these video clips pulled ahead of time, so you don't have to watch me searching for them. But that's not going to work. So let's go with this top one. What happened to that one? Sorry, guys. I had one. Yeah. Where's Al? All right.
Where in Acadiana is
You guys, if we lived in this part of Louisiana, we'd be like, where is Al going in Acadiana?
Ollie Bear.
I am in downtown Cancton.
where in Acadiana is
Ollie Bear.
I am in
Al Eber. And it's French, so you don't say Heber, it's Eber.
downtown Cancton at a place called the Dirty Laundry. That's a whole different story. Happening this weekend at Landon Peete Memorial Park is the first ever.
All right, we got to hear some music. I'm not going to move on from this until we hear some music.
Band.
Come
230's
on,
Richard
play some
LaBeouf.
accordion. Here we go. Beautiful.
Bears are always
Beautiful. All right. Well, I don't care to see Al play, but that's just because I don't have the time for all that. All right, now. I think it was May 13th. Oh, well, all right. Was it really May 23rd? All right. Well, I guess it was on May 23rd. So we have the official anniversary of the patent of the accordion on May 23rd. For whatever reason, I thought it was May 13th, but it's all right. Back in 1829. So bonus points to whoever in the chat wants to do the math on that one. So that's pretty cool. That just happened. The patent. What else do we have? All right. So then this weekend, the very famous Accordions Around the World, organized by Ariana of the Bryant Park Corporation or whatever. I played this in the early years, many years ago. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. They have musicians of all sort of levels of fame and notoriety. They're going to bring in Dwayne Dupsy this year, Afro Dominicano. This is cool. Let's see. Bryant Park. In fact, one time, yeah. And Guy has played the festival, I'm pretty sure. Bryant Park Accordion Festival. Toot Sweet. Here's the main stage. But we want Scenes of the Park. There we go. Here's Scenes of the Park. Here's a good one. Looks like some merengue. All right, not the greatest. Anyways, beautiful little park in New York City called Bryant Park. That's starting up this weekend, and I think it'll be all throughout the summer. They do that. We've got a couple other things coming up, but those are the major ones. All right, that concludes the news segment. How about that, guys? News segment over. I am not moving to Louisiana. No, sir. Nope. And what's up, Effie? Hello. Hello to Hartman. Hello to, let's see, who else was in the chat? Let me make sure. Somebody else said hi. Phil Bose Kim is back. Yeah, great to see you back again. Yeah, all right. So we'll move right along. I think we'll have a little palate cleanser first while I'm sort of setting up. But what we're going to do is we're going to get into our first tune for today, which is a beautiful ballad that Django Reinhardt performed. And I'll share that all with you guys in a second. Let's see, what should we listen to? Well, you know what? We'll listen to, I know what we'll do. We'll go to Django in June, and then I'll show you. So I included some of these links if you're on the email list, which is nearing 700 people now, the email list. I included links in the email, but this is how you do it. You go to djangoinjune.com, which is an adult summer camp that's going to start in 2 weeks. And then you're going to go to By Dir var es immer so schön. I think I said that correctly. And let's check out our reference recording for this one. We will listen to this. There's also Gwen Cahew, the violinist, who's coming this year. Jeremy Arranger, Guillaume Gali. I'll let you guys listen to that while I get myself set up. Hey, Euro Cafe. Thank you for sharing that. Do that. We'll go. A lot of stuff here. Barry Warhoftig showed that to me for the first time in my early years of playing gypsy jazz. He's the guy who runs the Hot Club of Philadelphia. And I believe he told me that he learned it from Fappy, I think, if I remember correctly. Let's check out some other versions of this. So originally, this was not a jazz ballad. This was like kind of a pop ballad. Here it is from 1954, although this Django died in 1953, so undoubtedly this is not super relevant as far as the versions that would have inspired him. Let's see, when? A tribute to Sibyl. Let's see. Let's see if I can find an early version. This may or may not be early. Let's see this one here. I can't tell. But just so you can hear the original, I like to hear the sort of popular version or in addition to hearing the jazz version.
Weil ich dich nun doch verlor und dass meine kleine Welt wie ein Kartenhaus zerfällt, schmerzte mich sehr. Ich steh da mit leeren Händen und bin arm wie nie zuvor. Denn mein Reichtum war's nur du, und nun frag ich mich, wozu kam ich her? Bei dir war es immer so schön, und es fällt mir unsagbar schwer zu gehen. Bei dir war ich wirklich zu hart, doch der Traum, den ich hier geträumt, ist aus. Warum hast du mir denn so nie getan? Und ich ohne dich an. Bei dir war es immer so schön, doch weil du eine andere liebst, muss ich gehen.
Doesn't sound all that different from sort of the ballad version. I would say the same sensibility, really, which is cool. I'm just trying to get this. I keep forgetting Mike at Liberty Bellas is so nice to lend me the MIDI accordion so that way I can work on the visualizer and all that sort of stuff. And I promised him that I would plug it, and so I want to make sure that I plug it. This beautiful bell tuna, which really set up as a wonderful sort of folk instrument. I think it's 96 basses. All the details are there. You can find it on Liberty Bellas, or if you're interested, email me and I'll send you the listing. But I want to make sure that I promote that as well. All right, so moving on. Wow, that is an arresting portrait right there. She's looking right at us, maybe? Anyway, okay, so we have all the pieces in place. So we know what the jazz version is supposed to sound like with the violin, and we know what the vocal version is supposed to sound like. What are we supposed to do in Django music, you know? The lead sheet is here. I can't show everything. This is probably way too much even. But I feel like the light up notes, if you want to watch this back. So we start there. Let's go first into the melody, and then we'll go into other stuff. So thinking of the melody, it is the two versions we heard were very, very legato. That's how I would describe it. The violin, of course, is an extremely legato instrument, and so is the voice. When we have legato, we want to sort of give it at all times, but especially in this sort of romantic context, we want to give it life and expression through making swells and shape the melody notes. So using the ideas of Pablo Casals, I could say, all right, let me try to just go through and play. There goes my light. Play mostly legato, not entirely legato, some Luray. Go back light. Oh no, that doesn't want to do it. Okay, studio's falling apart. Okay. When the melody goes up, my volume is going to get louder. So here we start off with the octave at the very beginning. Right? And that would be a Jacques Mornay thing to do, would be to get louder and then softer again. 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm adding a little bit, just kind of a couple extra notes here and there. Back to melody. That's also a big thing that Jack likes to do, is he'll get, as something's climbing, you will climb. But the final note is softer. So I'm thinking of bar 2, which could be just that, with just sort of, I'll call it straight bellows, meaning not trying to move the air, but just keeping it really stable. Basically all the same volume. If I made a crescendo, it is so aggressive and bold, you know, that it might not be the most romantic choice. So if I go instead louder, that has some more, I think, artistry to it. Jack might do something like that. We'll talk about counter melodies and stuff, but sort of legato like that, and give yourself something to do with that right hand. Make some shapes with your bellows and really listen to it. Make them, calls it tension. Jack and Natalie will call that tension and resolution, but it's very, very beautiful and not at all natural or normal for me to think about as an accordion player, for whatever reasons. Okay, so the melody, boom, ba. Repeat of the A. Maybe a little embellishment. Lots of space. Now we get a... Now we have another octave, so it's sort of a very motivic sort of a tune. Again, it's like I'm gonna go bum ba, but I'm not gonna go bum ba. It's hipper. It's more grown up. You know, be reserved. Make them listen as they say. So you... I'm just trying to show that, shaping it more and less. So you get a tension and a resolution in there. Okay. With the air to express on a ballad, and as an accordion player, I think this is a way to practice being gentle. For me, so hard. Easy to smash, smash, Dallas smash, 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 smash. Lighten up your fingers and really try to make that air have a shape. So other things that we need to make this come alive are ornamentation of the melody. It's a relatively simple intellectual process, and that needs practicing, like all things, to do spontaneously. So a lot of times we do ornamentation from below. So I'm going to call this a grace note. So I'm just putting... not on every note. Right like that. So that's a kind of ornamentation that is relatively easy to do. It doesn't mess up your fingering. So if you've taken the time to work out a fingering, and then the next step is that you go and put in your ornamentation, changes your fingering and kind of wipes you out. You gotta redo it. That's fine. Redo it, and then you're better off for the next time. So that's one kind of ornamentation that's relatively simple. It's just a half step below, and a grace note means that you hit the ornamentation note on the same place and time that you would have hit the target note, the note that is written, or that, you know, without the ornament. Whereas other kind of ornaments come well before. Let me see if I can find. So we could do. There are various kinds of enclosures. Let's see. Let me before I get to the enclosures, let me get to more chromatic notes. So you could run a whole crazy chromatic scale. And that's literally, hopefully you can hear the target note that I'm going for, because I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm playing it in a way. Hopefully you hear that that's the note. And that this is a run. What is it? And it doesn't have to be a whole crazy long line. It's nice to do if you can do that. It's nice to do once in a while, and if you can pull it off, it kind of has a wow factor. But little smaller groups. So we started talking about one grace note. Right? We could do two. So that's just two grace notes. And it requires me, I guess you guys should see my keyboard too. I gotta think about keeping my keyboard hand in there for you. Forgot about that. Okay, there you go. All right, now you can see my keyboard hand. So I'm putting the target note, which is a B, there, and that's in my fourth finger on a piano accordion. Still a little out of frame. Let me back it up some more. There you go. again, the A is the target, couple ornaments like that. And then you could just do more than two, more than one, more than two. You could do, or you go. It's up to your creativity. I find that when I start working on stuff, when I create sort of a method to practice these, which I have done in the past, especially when I was like really trying to learn gypsy jazz and transcribing a lot of Richard Galliano and copying him. He does this kind of enclosure so that C, let's pretend the C is a target note that I'm going to end on. That's really the written melody note, but I'm going to start on the D, and then the E, and then the D, and then the B, and then the C. I'm not as used to the action on this accordion, so I need to lighten up my touch a little bit and give it a little bit of air to make it sound cleaner there. That's better. There, now it sounds nice. So, I don't think any of these melody notes that we've gotten to so far are great candidates for this particular, the Galliano enclosure, but let's see. But other places in the tune and other ways. So, ornamenting your thing. Some more things to do with the melody, which probably would not be the best to do in a real gypsy jazz like jam session, but would be to add like counter melodies. So to take those long held notes and add a fill to them. So this is really a more of an advice for if you're going to do this as a solo tune. The first time, I would say leave the space so people learn the melody clearly and cleanly, and you have room to build up and to build more and to make more interest and more energy and to get busier. You've heard now what this melody sounds like. There you go. There. So I'm sustaining in my pinky this note. And I chose that because the chords are going from a C major to a C minor. And that's the important note that changes. So I may as well. Right? Whatever, that was just a straight up fill. But this idea of creating polyphony means many melodies or multiple melodies, poly. But under your right hand can be very, very pretty to do. Of course, you can harmonize it. There, see, I chose a weird harmony that you might not expect. You thought I was going to play a block chord. Let's see. I don't have the right note. There. What can we do? It's good. It's like mixing modes. That really... So having wide harmonies or close harmonies. Let's see. That sounds really weird. Sounds very not of like kind of 40s jazz standard sound. It's cool, just out of character. So you need to, in my opinion, here's my advice, since these two segments are like showing and teaching and telling and advice and all that sort of thing. First of all, familiarize yourself with the melody. And then it's good to like have a way that you can do the melody. So to work it out. So use this as a creative, a creation experience. So I'm going to create a version of the melody that I can play over a backing track or with other Django musicians or solo or whatever. So if I'm playing solo, what's the thing to keep in mind a lot of the time, let's see. If I'm playing solo, I want to be thinking about like putting counter melodies and filling up space and all that sort of thing and creating an elaborate arrangement. If I'm playing not solo, which is what Django in June is and what sort of Django Reinhardt did with it, with his ensemble, the quintet and all that sort of stuff, you have a bunch of great players with you and they want to play. And so one of the things is in a melody like this, it has space in it. So let another musician take the space, you know? So if I'm playing with other musicians and I look around, usually I'll kind of figure out who are the players who want to do the fills, you know, the newer players don't or whatever, other players do. So if you have your eyes open, if you have the music memorized, somebody fill, and then get out of my way. And then you end your note, somebody beep-a-doodle-doodle. Boom. And it is okay. You don't want to give away too much because then you become like you're featuring the filling person. But so don't give away too much, and you do want to get like virtuosic and make sure that you feel like the star of this moment, but share it with other people in a jam session. It's so fun. Okay, let me play through the B section. So this, in both cases, this has the highest note of the song. It has the most sort of anguish to my ears. I don't know what the lyrics are about, but it feels like not a super happy song. I remember Barry saying, with you, it would be so nice, I think, is what he told me, the definition, translation of this title. Yeah. And then we got to get back to C major, so something like that to get us back. So sustained, supported with a lot of feeling, but don't make it like you don't want to sound like a high school trumpet player in marching band on these long notes. You have to find subtlety and gentleness and create tension and find the romance of what you're playing. Alrighty, that's what I would say for the melody on this one. For the chords and accompaniment, in a Django style, you're going to have other musicians. Guitarists you will have, who are going chunk, 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 chunk. So comping under the melody. Ba-bum, ba-do-do-do-dum-dum, ba-do-ding-dum-da-dum-bo-dum, dum-dum, didn't-dum. So I feel like because this melody hits on the ands, 1, 2, 3, 4 and, I would probably, as a person accompanying, 4 and 1, 2 and like really kind of stay away from the downbeats that the player is playing. Watch for when they're going to continue to develop that melody. And all right, I'm starting to get into improvisation ideas. So, block chords, open chords, all sorts of things. On ballads, I would do really cool little like. You know, these kind of really nice open things are really nice to create different kinds of textures and make sure that it has life and breathe. Of course, in an ensemble setting, not playing is a great idea also to make sure that it has space and breathes and isn't just like this, I'm playing because I want to play and I have to play, you know, like we should be thinking about making a thing that has to do with deliberately asking ourselves, should I play now or not? Chord shapes, I might use rootless voicings, definitely trying to keep my ears open, knowing what the melody is. Right hand chord shapes. So that's a rootless C major 7. There's the C, but I'm not playing it in my right hand. It's a close position chord. You could play like this or like this or like this. Those are all the inversions of it. Maybe a C minor 7 or maybe a C6, minor 6. This needs a 9. Diminished. A minor 7. So if I play it right correctly in the left hand, you get the 9 in there. Ba-do ba-bum bum bo bum ba-do de bi dum ba bi bo do dum. Okay, so there I decided to include that natural 9, a C sharp, which gives a lot of color. So we have a B minor 7 flat 5. Sorry. And that's the root 3rd 5th 7 of that chord. The 9 is here, C sharp, which is a beautiful color that we didn't have. What do I want to... There you go. And I kept that line going. So ba-dee-da, I had that on the B, then on the, and we're on the A minor now. So I was inside my root. And then you're at the thing. So the melody. So see how in the accompaniment, I do the same sort of thing of building, and then at the actual resolution, you come back. I think that this is a fairly universal technique that is definitely what you might say next level. Like it's more sophisticated. It takes more control over your instrument, and it's a more sophisticated musician thing to do. In order to be thinking about this stuff, you have to be sort of pretty locked into the chords and not worried about, not struggling, I would say. You know, you've got the chords on lockdown, but just to show another thing to work towards, just the expression of the accompaniment, which accompaniment is a beautiful pursuit, and it is not easy. There's a wonderful thing that unites you to other musicians and to yourself. You're always accompanying yourself on the accordion if you're playing your left hand. So just these sort of deeper musician concepts of accompaniment, I would say, at least in this genre. So I'm going to build a tension. And then on the release or at the B section, now all of a sudden I'm quiet. And I would be following the lead of the energy of the lead player. So here's to the G, rootless voicing, some open voicing. There, I've got the melody. Now we have like a walk down. And a break might be nice. Ash. I don't know this keyboard. Okay, so some other fills and stuff like that, and you can do little instrumental fills, little melodic fills. I mean, bo ba dum, be de do do da da, bo bum, be. Oh, I say that'd be better because it goes to the next chord. Be de bo, and you see how when I hit the resolution, it's softer. Whatever. So you can fit them in there around the melody. It's just don't get in the way of the melody. Make sure you're just really sort of yes-anding the melody. Okay, cool. The left hand. Let me work on the visualizer here. So if you're playing Django music with a guitar player, at least one guitar player, I would say, don't try to pomp right along with them. This visualizer, I need to kind of drag the curtains. Let me check in with the OBS though, because I wasn't looking at the chat. Let's see. Useful if you land on the wrong key. Introverse unlocked. Yeah, that's right, Sarah. I'm looking at old comments now. Okay, cool. I was just looking at those comments. So, so often. I'm just playing the triad, and if I was playing two hands together, maybe the 7 and 9 and other parts would be in my right hand. So I do a lot of these little walk-up things. Doon, 2, 3, 4, Paulette, 1, 2, 3, 4, Paulette, 1, 2, 3, 4. I wouldn't do it that much. That would be way too much. But you get the idea. So it's if my target note is a C, I start 2 half steps above. So the D flat, or C sharp, and then the C. So I'm really going, let me clean this up a little bit. I'm going there, that D, that C sharp, and that C. You could go here. Let's see, I need to get to a B, yeah. So just there. Now I gotta show you the B flat diminished here, and here, and here the 2 chord, have been to the 2. No. Should have been to the B flat. That's the chords there. Let me do the B section. The form of the song is AABA, which makes it relatively easy to memorize, and a very, very lyrical and repetitive motif. So we're gonna move into the key of the 5. So we're tonicizing the 2 chord, an A minor 7. So it's A minor 7, D7, G major. All right, so there's the left hand. Maybe the C minor 7 here. If it's a 2-5, I might do it. I'm feeling a 2 feel. I need a 4 feel. Maybe bump. 2, 3, 4. I'll go a little faster. Let me tell you what that was. That worked out really, really nicely. It says F sharp over B minor, but I did just F sharp over D, which would not clash with a guitarist or a bass player or anything. You have the correct bass note, and this has the notes of B minor, just not the B. That was pretty. Isn't that pretty? And then I got my E minor off the counter bass. Now I keep going, making that 2-5, but it doesn't work. It's just got to stay on the C minor. I should play the D. All right. That is the left-hand chords. I generally strip everything down to simpler chords for left-hand accompaniment, especially if I'm playing like La Pompe. So if you, person watching this stream out there, were playing the melody, I would do it 2 hands together, maybe. And then I would create some syncopation between my 2 hands. Hear how it's, the left hand is going to stay on these quarter notes. Quarter, 2, 3. But you can't see that B flat. Visualize is a work in progress. 1, 2, 3, 4. So syncopate. A minor. Right? This is way harder to do than it looks. Give it a shot out there. It's not easy. But it's so cool. I keep wanting to go to that 4. Accompaniment. So I have a general feel, 3, 4, and then it needs these little things to help it. See how, especially at the end of the bar, 3, around 4, I do stuff to create some little syncopations. Usually not too much busyness at the beginning of the bar, and not too much because I don't want to like put the melodist in a box. And then we're at the second ending. So I'm definitely starting to get into improvisation there, but I wanted to show how my left hand would support in the cases where I am playing two hands accompaniment for an invisible unknown melody here, or when my left hand plays accompaniment for my right hand. I try to keep it intelligent. It shouldn't be on autopilot. Really, the left hand should never be on autopilot. It should always be intelligent and deliberate and done. I think that is maybe a misnomer or a fallacy of understanding. Like, we do work to make the left hand automatic in a sense, but creatively, when we're playing creatively like this, we should never be sort of like disassociated from our left hand. It should always be something that we're with and hearing ideas for and that sort of thing. But it requires a ton of practice in the direction of getting it automatic, because you want to have all of the nervous system training that you can just go, left hand, I need a B flat diminished. Okay. And you don't have to be like, oh, the intellectual brain doesn't have to go, shoot, I'm on an A minor. Where do I find a B flat diminished? You know, It can just go there. In that sense, it is automatic. But in the creative expressive senses, it's not automatic. You're very aware of the left hand. You're making choices and decisions, even though they were like in the moment and intuitive, you know. Why did I do that? I couldn't tell you, but I felt it, you know. That's the sort of thing that we're at. So practice, practice, practice. A wonderful tip I would give everyone is to get your chords together and then be able to play quarter notes, opening and closing. So let's talk about practicing accompaniment for a little bit, and then I'll get into improvisation. And I think we'll wrap up this tune and get to Jangology. So here is really a method, a way to practice that I guarantee will help you a lot. I do this in both hands, but I'm going to show it for the right hand. So get a chord shape and be able to play. Your job to get ready on this music, to build your skills, is to go out for 2 bars playing quarter notes. 1, 2, and this is actually a C. Now I'm going to go in for 2 bars. I'm just playing the chords to the tune in a La Pompe sort of way, where the first quarter note is long and the second quarter note is short. So long, short, long, short. So let me show you. And I'm opening the bellows, super important. Opening the bellows. Now I close the bellows. Bar 3, bar 4, bar 5. Open, bar 6, bar 7, shut. Bar 8, shut the bellows. And you repeat the A and you open the bellows again. So, and bar 2, opening the bellows, and bar 3, closing the bellows, ba, and bar 4, shutting the bellows, ba da 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 da, open the bellows. And just keep it simple. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Keep it simple. And here's the second ending. Make sure you got that chord. And shutting the bellows. So always 2 opening and 2 closing. this again builds like this kind of like backup that your body's automatically going to go to. And this keeps you out of a lot of trouble, and it solves a lot of the problems. So A minor 7 opening for 2 to the B7. Bar 17. The last A opening. C minor opening. Ba-do-dee-do. Shut. Shut the bellows. Shut the bellows. Open the bellows. Open the bellows. And shut. Last 2 bars. That will do that. That exercise is incredible for everything. I'm going to show you when we get to Jangology in a few minutes. I'll show you that exactly the same way. For the left hand, same way. 2 bars open. Second bar opening. Now I'm going to shut the bellows. Watch the folds in the video. Open. Open. First ending, shut. And second ending, or I mean first ending, and the second A, you get the idea. It makes for kind of boring audio. But that exercise is so good. So it involves kind of 2 main parts. First main part is quarter notes on the correct chords, and you can do that at any tempo and to any amount of music. So if you're struggling, just do it on 4 bars. You know, practice on 4 bars until you're tired of that, and then go on to practice something else. And you'll want to practice fewer bars because your body needs to work on less stuff that's new. So the newer it is, the less of it you can do. And when you go like, well, how do I know how new? It's like, replace the word new with hard or difficult. So the newer it is, the more difficult it is, the less you want to do, the less amount. You have to simplify it. So fewer measures, fewer hands together, slower tempo, that sort of thing. Okay, so the final thing for improvisation, or the final thing would be improvisation on this. This is such a beautiful tune. I would think I would probably go with a sort of a guide tone line frequently on this because the chords move in these great guide tone lines. Let's see, the roots have a guide tone line to them. The chord tones do also. So I'm going off the 3rd of the C major. Now the 3rd of the C minor to the 5th of the G major to the flat, or the minor 3rd of the B flat diminished to the minor 3rd of the A minor. Look up Jeremy Siskind guide tone lines video on YouTube. It's incredible, and it's a wonderful video. The guy has tons of style, great online educator. He'll explain all the logic how to do it. And this video I'm talking about, he takes I forget the name. I forget the tune. I forget what it is. Anyways, so you find your guide tone line, and then you can do all this cool stuff with it. So if I go here, I could just sort of do some escape note. Right? Let me take the 7th. A little bit less exciting. Oh. That's right. Okay. So guide tone lines. It's so hard to talk. I think I should just play. It's better if I just sort of play different ideas. All right. So you heard that guide tone line. So that's the guide tone. Kind of watch that. There's the guide tone. Now, what guide tone line should we have? Probably the D. We'll go up. Right? That's an idea. Some other ideas are chord scales. So scales. There's the 2 chords, so an A minor 7 Dorian scale. So much better if you're practicing them, extend them out. Think of them as modular. When you practice your scales, think of these chord scales like if you get in, when you get into jazz, you'll start to learn about the modes and Dorian and Mixolydian and all these sort of scales. Think of them as modular around the notes of the chord that you're on. So I'm thinking I have an A minor 7 scale, and at any one of these points here, I could sort of stop. And we call these sort of targets. That has a ton of energy. Not tremendous lines yet, but I'm kind of showing you the idea. To the third. There's your little scale, or 5 notes. If you want to go slow, you know, you can fill up the same space that way. Here, this is written into the E minor and then E minor major 7 and then E minor dominant 7. So as accordion players, we know this. We know that little descending thing. You've heard that. That's what's going on here. And in your improvisation, you want to... Oh, whatever. And then we go back to the C. So you got to kind of end that E minor idea and start a new one. Oh, to the B flat? Oh. I love those diminished runs. And then we go to the E minor 7. Okay. All right, good. So let me check in with the OBS and see how you guys are doing. Alrighty. So, hey, what's up, Courtney? How you doing? So Phil Piety is asking, am I actually pumping with my bass with guitars or counter basses? No, if there's guitars there, I'm not doing the left hand. Let me play this through. Let's see if there's a backing track for this. Yeah, I wanted to autofill here. There's got to be. There. This must be the right one because it's a Django fake book. Boom, boom.
2, 1, 2, 3.
See? What dimension? That one. So here's the guide tone line. A little sprightly. Cool. So some melody and some improvisation on that. And then if I was to play chords over the top of that, let me just take it back to the top. This is nice because it's there's a lot of sound here already. You have I think 3 guitars. Is that right? Yeah, 3 guitars. None of them are Django guitars, which is even more representative of a real Django jazz jam session. Anyways, and a bass. So then we're adding accordion and assuming that there's a melody on top of this or a soloist of some type. So I want to make sure that maybe a thicker chord. Little fill. Throw a little run in there, even though there's the melody. Soften it up. Let it relax. I heard them doing. I shouldn't have done 1-4-1 because they're starting to do a turnaround back into C. Okay, so there you have me sort of comping and doing all that sort of stuff with the backing track also. Wonderful. All right. Such a beautiful tune. Alrighty. All right, now let's check out the what is this called? Djangology. So this is the next tune. It's kind of it's one of the tier 1 tunes. This tune called Djangology, and they don't have reference recordings for that because they assume most people who are into Django have heard this tune a bajillion times. Let's listen to Django's version of Djangology. Oh yeah. Now, I've never heard anybody play that intro. I'm sure Duved and Daniel Garlitsky do that. But I in all my jamming, I've never heard anybody riff that. So that intro is not something that is commonly played, I'll say. Here's the melody. lot of variations on this tune. Okay, cool. So that's Django himself playing his own melody that he wrote. Has a ton of improvisation in there, as does a lot of jazz. So let's check out Borelli Legrain, who has another like super popular, almost standard reference. This is a very famous record that is part of the Django revival of the 90s. Maybe this came out in 2000, whatever. And this riff. So this melody is much more standardized, and this is the way you're going to hear people play it in a jam session. Learn it this way. Except for that part of it. Okay. All right. So there's one weird thing about that in this recording, even though I'm telling you to play it like this, the B section, Borelli plays the B section twice instead of just once, and most people don't do that. That's a his thing on this record, on Gypsy Project and Friends. So where am I going to get my chart for, or where should you get it? Go to the same page, Django in June, get ready, and then go to 24 Gypsy Jazz Standards, and then get this one, second edition. I'm going to open this up and share the chart with you guys so you can see it. Let's see. Change that over. Hope you're having fun with this heavy dose of Django. We're in Django season, you might say. You might say. Kind of like Oktoberfest season. Hey, Adrian. Wonderful. And hey, guitars and beers. Yes. Hell yes, it's accordion. If you're just joining the stream, my name is Dallas, and I'll stream for about another 20 or 30 minutes, depending. I don't know how far over the hour I'll go. And I like to play a lot of Django Reinhardt music and gypsy jazz and swing. What I'm doing is I'm sort of showing how I play accordion in this ensemble, which is not really an uncommon thing. Django didn't make any recordings with accordion. Oh, it is showing. Okay, we're good. That does show. Okay. Wait. Oh, I see what's going on. All right, it's this one that's got to change. Hold up. One moment. Here we go. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to Djangology. Here we go. All right, so this is a really interesting thing. What I usually tell people on this one is the melody can also be your chord comping, and you wouldn't necessarily want it to be your improvisation, all of it, but it could be some improvisation. So let me get back to the visualizer here, and we'll go over the melody here. Okay, there's the visualizer. I'll show you how I play it. Let's do Djangology, and we'll do a backing track. Beep, 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 beep. I'll do the slower backing track, 140 here. something like that. And that's usually how I play that melody. And there you can hear it with the backing track. Beep, 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 bum. Often it's faster though. Let me play a little faster here. 170. Okay, so this tempo now I'll comp. So comp it. Sorry. Okay, simple AABA form and kind of quirky and unique Django style. The melody, I throw a grace note in there. You could put it anywhere. There's a grace note on the first note, second and fourth note. You put them anywhere, but it really warms it up. This is the chord shape and the melody. So this would be a perfect, if you're going to learn the melody, you may as well just play all these notes together. Ba-ba-do-beep, ba-ba-do-beep-ba. Ba-ba-do-ba. That's the melody. So. Now here, that you got to get your own D minor 7, or A minor 7, D7. G6 or G major 7, whatever you're gonna do. Okay, cool. So when now in this style, when there's musicians playing, my comping would be a lot more punchy, less long. When I have a medium or faster tune, I don't want to play a whole lot of long notes, especially at a jam session. So I'll comp where I'm playing chords in sort of stabs. So little upbeats. Wrong chord. Okay, now some improvisation. super about these guide tone lines. So, you could do one that goes that way. Another guide tone line. So just kind of going down chromatically. Try that and just use your ears and intuition. Don't even need to know. Let go of the need to feel like you know what the chord name is, and just, I'm telling you, you take one of these notes. Let's see if I can find that backing track again. No, where is that?
Meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren.
Not that one. So here's your guide tone like E, or B, to B flat, to A flat, to G, to F sharp, to E, or to G. Either one of those are E. Okay, so then on the B section for improvisation, you have A flat. If we take a look here at what's written, A flat, E flat, A flat. So A flat, E flat 7. So and then up a half step. So A flat major scale. So you have that, and then the A. So so I'm trying to think of some A. So just kind of easy 1-5-1 stuff, and then you're back to the top here. This one flummoxes a lot of people. I would say for people who are trying to work this out, find these guide tone lines. You know, watch that Aaron Siskin video, find the guide tone lines and get that together, or they're all in here. So if I take the chords, which is also the melody. Here, that's a guide tone line from that note. Any one of those are like little descending notes. Yeah, okay, cool. What haven't we talked about? We're talking the melody. Oh, okay, so if I was gonna do this as accompaniment in my left hand, so like say I don't think we played this one at the gig, but I certainly have played this in duo with either violinist or a guitarist. Let me get a good beefy bass sound. I like to go all the way down and up. So I'm like pressing the basses all the way to the bottom and then a little staccato. Sorry, I'm forgetting the melody. Faster. Shit. I'm not making that A, sorry. Okay, so that's how it might be. That's how it might be solo, something like that. Which like just looks insane on the visualizer. All those notes, but that's it. The two hands, and that I have really fallen in love with working on solo swing accordion like this. It's been a long time coming, but to work on solo, you have to work on all the skills. So it's like by working on solo, you're working on playing with the Django ensemble and all that sort of stuff. Is there any other? I think that's sort of all the conventions about that tune. Let me check in with the chat. Cool. Oh man, thanks pre-launch rocket. Barely say your name. That's nice of you to say, man. Thank you. Yeah, so that's the genre, and that's how I might do it on the piano accordion here. Yeah, we're sort of at the 2 hours. This one, I feel like Djangology is not as deep, and the deep parts of it are even more sophisticated. But it's a great tune. They're both great tunes. I know the one of the tunes I'm gonna do next week. There goes the light again. Is this one called "Time on My Hands," which I haven't done yet on the live stream. Did we do Black and White? I don't know if we did or not. I might do Black and White and "Time on My Hands" next week, or something else. Otherwise, it'll be more news and all that kind of stuff. I think I'm gonna wrap it up, everybody. Thanks for checking out this week's episode of the Accordion live stream. I will be back next Tuesday, the same time, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, USA, and other time zones around the world. Thank all you beautiful people. Go squeeze an accordion, make some music for yourself, and maybe for the other people in your life. Take care. If you're interested in learning from me, you can go to my website, RisingReed.com, which I just... Oh, you're not seeing that. Which I just updated with this pretty flower for the spring session, which will be finishing up next